Welcome to another edition of the Upstate Orange Podcast. It is Thursday, February 14th, 2013, and we're coming at you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. I'm Jim Sinacropi, and joined in studio by my co-host Matt Verkey. We're without our buddy Brad Connor tonight. I believe he's on a mountain somewhere skiing, but in his stead, I'm happy to welcome in another friend of ours, equally vigorous in his engagement into the world of college basketball, and the new head golf professional at Turning Stone Resort and Casino, Eric Lorenzetti, everybody.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Back for a second stint on the Upstate Orange Podcast. We're glad to have him.
Great to be back. Great to be back in the area for good, too.
He also brought us some gifts. I got a Syracuse hat here with the logo of one of the courses on there, right?
Yep, Galuya.
Three courses you got?
Yeah, well, I actually got 5, but 3 championship.
5.
Shenandoah, Galuya, and Adunio.
One of them is par 3.
And then the par 3 is Pleasant Knolls, and then there's another regulation 9-hole called, the par 3 Sandstone Hollow. You can tell it's only been a couple weeks.
And a dome, right?
Dome. Got the golf dome rocking, too. It's been nuts with Syracuse games going, too, so a lot going on.
Yeah, I guess so. But we got him tonight. He's in high demand. But we got him tonight, and we have a great show. We're going to be talking about another gem of a press conference from Jim Boeheim, the best in the biz when it comes to press conferences. And is the sky falling? With Wednesday night's loss at UConn, the Orange have lost 3 of their last 5. I didn't like that stat. We'll still have some great Orange trivia, even though Brad's off this week. I got a question. I don't know if Eric came prepared, but we'll preview the upcoming Seton Hall and Providence games, take a quick look at all the action around the country, and much, much more. The Upstate Orange Podcast is brought to you by Midday, Miras, and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys. If you've been injured and deserve compensation, call the Finger Lakes Personal Injury Hotline at 315-568-0911. And they got a new office in Geneva, Verk.
They do, yeah. We got to get that number, and we'll get that out to everybody.
And also by Generations Bank. Generations of service for over 140 years. Visit them online at mygenbank.com and check out their new mobile banking app. And Newark Pilots baseball season ticket packages now available for the 2013 season at beautiful Colburn Park in Newark. Visit newarkpilots.com for more information. Well, guys, I'd like to kind of lead off with the press conference last night after Syracuse was lost to UConn. I get excited for the press conferences almost as much as the game, win or lose. You never know what's going to happen. And last night, out of nowhere, Andy Katz asked him about the future of Syracuse UConn and what it's like playing them for the last time. And Boeheim calls him an idiot and a disloyal person. And then, of course, the internet exploded with tweets and posts and comments, and even Katz was tweeting out about it. And, I guess now that we've had almost 24 hours to digest what happened there, and that the story is that Andy Katz, in 2011, right after the Bernie Fine story broke, went to he wanted to do an interview with Boeheim. And so Boeheim said, well, we'll talk about the tournament and we'll talk about the team. I don't want to talk about Bernie Fine. So then the interview started with the cameras rolling, and Katz asked him 5 or 6 questions about Bernie Fine, to which Boeheim kept saying, I don't want to talk about it. And then after that, Boeheim's side of it is that a few people walked out of the room. They were so disgusted by it, and an ESPN producer came up to Boeheim and apologized, and and then Boeheim told Katz, I'm never going to talk to you again. And he hasn't. I guess Katz has called him a few times, tried to get him on his show. Boeheim hung up on him, says, I'm not talking to you. And then during the press conference, Jim Boeheim, if he says he's not going to talk to you, don't ask him a question at a press conference of all places. So, I don't really know what to think about this. Katz is trying to do his job. I think the term disloyal by Boeheim was a little incorrect. I think he meant to say dishonest. because I don't see where Katz would have to be loyal to Boeheim as a journalist, but we use that term lightly when we talk about ESPN nowadays, I suppose, the term journalist. But, Red, what do you think about the whole situation?
It sounded like it was an agreement, like you said, with Katz, and I think a lot of that goes behind the scenes that we don't ever see.
Yeah.
And, there is some loyalty there that is gained in that relationship, and obviously that bridge got burned very quickly there. Katz is doing his job, but at the same time, that's why I love Boeheim now again.
Yeah.
It's 10 effing games. It's idiots. It's, he doesn't care. He really doesn't. And, he stands by his guys. He stands by his program. And, will the program be affected by it? No. It gives it attention. It's not like anybody doesn't, what is it? Any publicity is good publicity.
But is Andy Katz and Doug Gottlieb now going to go out to dinner, and talk about start a new club, the ostracized by Boeheim club?
Is it every time I'm on, it's just the Gottlieb comes up real quick?
That's true. Yeah, we always talk about Gottlieb in the show. Bert, you like Andy Katz?
I'm indifferent towards him. I've never had a reason to like him very much or dislike him, but and I think Boeheim is a very loyal guy. When the Bernie Fine stuff broke, he backed up Bernie because they didn't have any reason not to. And I think loyalty is a big thing with Jim, and he felt somehow that Andy Katz broke the like Red was talking about, the trust they had, and by asking him these questions that he agreed not to ask him apparently, and obviously Coach Boeheim didn't like that, and Coach Boeheim doesn't, these guys, reporters and stuff, they don't mean anything to him really. So I know respect, I know he gets along with like Jay Billis and those guys pretty well, but for whatever happened, and and maybe this is the first time that Boeheim's been around Katz since then, and he let him know, hey, I told you I wasn't talking to you, and I'm not talking to you.
The press conference of all places. I also went back and read an article that Andy Katz wrote about the Bernie Fine situation. And he said things in this article about how, Lori Fine and Julie Boeheim didn't like each other, and, all this stuff that wasn't really college basketball journalism. And, he also went on in that article to predict Boeheim would lose his job. So I don't know if any of that had anything to do with it either, but definitely interesting. And all I got to say, fellas, is can you wait? The best part about going to the ACC is going to be Boeheim's. The only good part about going to the ACC is going to be Boeheim's press conferences in the ACC. When these guys get a load of, the press at Clemson or even Duke or Carolina, when Boeheim pulls one of these stunts, and I think he's almost purposely going to do it. I think someone's going to ask him when he's down there in NC State or maybe UNC about his comments about Greensboro, and I think Boeheim's going to, go off on him.
Right, and there's nothing for him to lose. No. Once again,
Hall of Famer,
where he's still going to recruit from the same places.
Yep.
That's not going to change either. And like I say, what has he got to lose? He could leave tomorrow, and it'd be a great career, and kind of is what it is.
Yeah. I just, like I say, looking forward to those ACC press conferences. That's going to be one good thing about seeing Boeheim in that environment and seeing the way that everyone else reacts to him. He's already shot several shots across the bow of some ACC people. I think it was the NC State coach, Bill Gottfried, that took offense to what Boeheim said about Greensboro as not being the ideal place for a conference tournament. But
they have put that up for a vote too, and it could be in Madison Square Garden. I saw it's already booked for the next couple of years, but down the road it might be something that happens up this way.
Well, to me, that's a no-brainer if you want to be the Atlantic Coast Conference. And that's, of all the things going to the ACC, I think the thing that's going to hurt Syracuse the most is not playing in the Big East tournament, because I don't think people understand what a recruiting draw that tournament is for all the teams of the Big East. And I don't think that kids in Philadelphia that are thinking of coming to Syracuse are dreaming of that weekend in Greensboro, North Carolina, or in Atlanta. They're dreaming about playing on Madison Square Garden, and that tournament's special, and it's going to be gone. And I think that's going to hurt Syracuse recruiting more than anything.
Yeah. What's the closest school from Philly? Probably Virginia? ACC-wise?
Syracuse will be.
Right.
Pittsburgh, obviously, but that's in the ACC right now. You're talking probably Virginia Tech, Virginia.
Yeah.
Maryland's gone.
but no traditional basketball powers. I mean,
no.
You know,
The ACC as a basketball conference, I think, is horrible.
Yeah.
You know, top heavy as usual. This year, Miami. It's nice to see Miami, somebody different.
Yeah.
You know, contending, probably going to win the league, Miami. But you know, top to bottom, I don't get excited about those games. I don't even get excited about Syracuse, Boston College. You know, we always killed Boston College, and I never considered them a rival. I went to a Syracuse-Boston College game in Conte Forum in probably '94. I think our producer, Jeremy Hunt, was there too. And the place was like a church. You know, there were tons of open seats, and the place was quiet, and we killed them. You know, I can't remember who played, but we killed them. And I remember being pretty vocal. It was easy because the place was so quiet. But moving on, Syracuse has lost 3 of their last 5 games after that loss to UConn last night. And heading into the game, Sutherland was back against St. John's. Everything looked like it was back to how it used to be before Sutherland went out and they lost 2 games. And, you know, going into the UConn game, we learned that UConn center was suspended, so they're going to be a man short where they're already not strong on that front line. And we know the UConn has good guards, but Trish and Carter Williams have been playing good as recently, and boom, you know, we just get owned by UConn in a game that was really their Super Bowl, not eligible for postseason play, Big East tournament or NCAA tournament. So they came to play, and we didn't. I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, we're going to analyze it a little closer than that, but I just think that UConn came to play, and we weren't ready for it, and we got rolled. We really got rolled.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was, you know, the 3-point percentage was a big difference, 48% to about 18%, if memory serves me correct.
When UConn shooting all open threes, you know, I thought Syracuse's defensive effort was one of the worst of the years. After playing great defense against St. John's, they left that corner shooter open, Sutherland and Fair. And Carter Williams, you know, we'll get into a little bit about Michael Carter Williams, but he doesn't get out on shooters in the zone, you know.
Yeah, UConn shot 8 for 14 for 57%. Syracuse was 4 for 23 for 17%.
All by James Sutherland. All 4 by James Sutherland.
Yep. And, you know, Syracuse, something we were talking about before the show started, you know, Trish and Carter Williams combined for 15 assists Saturday against St. John's. They come back in that game, and they combined for 3 assists. I just thought, you know, Syracuse looked a little bit selfish. A lot of, you know, 1-2 passes, shoot a 3. You know, just not a lot of great offense, and look, a lot of one-on-one, and it's just a totally different feel from the game on Saturday where they were really finding each other. And you know, I thought Sutherland shot a lot in both games, but you know, he's capable of making them. But he can get some of those shots a little bit later on in the offense. You know, they don't need to be 1-2 passes, jack up a 3. You know, getting nothing interior-wise scoring. Christmas was awful against UConn. Took a couple really bad shots.
Missed a dunk at the end when we were still in the game, trying to make a late run. Easy dunk on a putback.
You know, at one point he shot like a runner kind of, and then he had like an open 12-footer. He shot a jump shot and he bricked it. And Keita was awful, I thought. Offensively, you know, he had a couple times inside where he didn't finish very well. You know, the shot one almost went over the basket from about 3 feet away. So, you know, it's St. John's. They look great, and then they come back and you know, it's a game against Connecticut. They could have won. You know, they gave Calhoun some open looks, and like you said, their defense was bad, and their offense wasn't very good either, and they didn't really play as a team.
C.J. Fair doesn't even play down the stretch. We were in the game, you know, like last, 4 minutes or so of the game?
Yeah.
No C.J. Fair. You know, word is that he wasn't rebounding and wasn't shooting too well, so Bam pulled him, but I don't ever want to see C.J. Fair on the bench in a game that we're tight in. You know, we got a chance to win.
Yeah, I don't think that really played a part in it, in all honesty, but it was a little bit of a surprise. I go back to what Matt said with, you know, the frontline play. I really think, and I've always thought this, that the ball needs to go inside more, and you can get that outside shot.
Yep.
I think at Kentucky, you know, they'd always dump it in and then kick it back out. That's kind of the college game now, or has been for a while. But I think I'm afraid that they're going to lose Christmas, because I think anytime he gets to touch the ball, he's going to try to score, and I think he's very talented. But, I mean, you look at the last couple of years where they've been successful, they've had a good front line. And when they struggled, it's because Onuaku's hurt, or Fab Melo can't figure out how to pass a class.
Yeah, we're missing that 5-man.
Or they need somebody, regardless of whether it's C.J. Fair or even a Michael Carter-Williams, who can go on the post and you can throw him the ball on the block and he can score.
Right.
It's tough to rely on three-point shooting when you're not hitting, and Syracuse got a lot of good guys who can get to the basket, but most teams, these good teams that you see, like Duke can throw it to Plumlee and he can score inside. It's tough to rely on jump shots and get into the basket to score when you don't have that post presence, because teams can adjust and teams are adjusting, and they're we talked about it too. Whenever we see Michael Carter-Williams takes more than 10 shots, it seems like Syracuse struggles. Yeah. Not that he's a terrible offensive player, but he's not a polished offensive player, and teams are playing it when teams play him to shoot, and he puts up 15, 16 shots.
And he's not a scorer. He doesn't need to be a scorer, and he's not a scorer yet.
Yeah, and we talked about, I thought Boatwright really got into him and caused some turnovers, and he was their leading scorer. He had 15 points, I believe, but really looked out of sync all game. And when he's shooting, what did he shoot from the field? He was 6 for 13, 0 for 3 from the 3-point line, 15 points. He made a couple nice drives, and a couple baskets came late, but he needs to have more than one assist if Syracuse is going to win.
Right. That's interesting. You brought that up about. I didn't even think about that, of maybe getting MCW into the post. I think of Waiters. Was always, that was a post play, kind of isolate. Boeheim has always kind of been that isolation play. We've never seen that, and he's got the height. Whoever he's going to post up, he's going to have a height advantage, and he's the best passer on the team.
He made it. He did. They went to it once last night, and he got the ball on the block, and he made a nice spin move, and I think he missed a layup, but he's capable. Obviously they work him out in the post. You could tell. I've seen him over the season try to get him in the post, but if he's got Boatwright, he's 6'5", maybe 6'6". Boatwright's maybe 6 foot.
Right.
And
Napier's the other option to guard him. Isn't he taller either?
Yeah, instead of give him the ball down there, and if he draws a double, then he can kick it out. Obviously with his passing skills.
But I'll tell you what. Michael Carter-Williams is gone after the year. He's going to the NBA. They're predicting him, around 10th. Give or take a few, either way. But isn't that a joke? He's not ready to lead a college team.
It's based on potential. And a lot of people say the same thing. Like Norland's Noel got hurt, and people are like, "Oh, big deal," whatever. He's the number one pick in the draft until he gets hurt, and it's based on potential. And they see, Michael Carter-Williams is 6'6", does a lot of good things. He's a great athlete. Can really, he can get up and down the court. Can he guard anybody defensively, man to man? I'm not sure. Can he knock down the open three consistently in the NBA? Yeah. Not sure.
I'd say no.
He does some good things, but I think he'd really benefit from at least another year in college. Whether or not that happens, it's tough to turn down, $3-4 million a year. So we'll see how it plays out.
There is no way he can make an NBA roster next year. There's no way.
I'm not so sure about that, but will play and do anything? I mean, we always think of, hey, we're playing in the NBA, that they're going to be the star. I think Matt said it one time with Fab Melo. Why do I want to go play in Maine for 10 people or wherever he is, wherever it's snowing right now, and play at the Dome with 25,000, 30,000 people and get more seasoned, And, I mean, you look at the NBA, you got teams that are trying to still get Greg Oden.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, size is a valuable – I mean, they make the court so much smaller if you ever see a college game versus a pro game back-to-back. And I've had the opportunity one time. It's night and day. But
you're right, just because of the size of the players.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, and his size is a valuable asset. And he could, with his footwork and things, be a great person to post up. He'd be a tough matchup in that regard.
But I can't see him next year or even 2 years from now. And at the beginning of the season, I was like, Carter-Williams is a stud. He's going to lead us this year. He's going to break out. And to some extent he has, mainly because of the one good Louisville game. But when I look at the potential of him facing off against Chris Paul or, any starting NBA point guard, he's going to get owned. He gets owned by the Big East point guards when they man him up.
Even that Louisville game, he struggled throughout most of that game.
Yeah,
he had trouble getting the ball over half court against Russ Smith and Siva, just because I think those little quick guards can really get up into him. And he's 6'6". He's got when he's in transition, he's great, but just bringing up one-on-one, sometimes he struggles. We see him get picked 4 or 5 times. And, if you're NBA players don't get picked if you're the point guard. Do you ever see Chris Paul get picked? Obviously he's one of the best in the NBA, but, these guys don't get bothered by tight man-to-man defense typically. They, step back, run the offense. And he struggles with the ball sometimes. I know we're giving him a lot of grief. It's his first year really playing. And, I don't think it's a Deion Waiters type explosiveness. He's not that kind of athlete. They're different players, and I think he is going to be a decent NBA player eventually, but he's got a ways to go.
Yeah, I suppose that, it's hard. I suppose if I wouldn't be so frustrated if I wasn't seeing him being predicted as a 10th pick, because I'd love to see him come back as a junior and seasoned and mature. And it almost feels like we're never going to get the real Michael Carter-Williams this year. I thought he maybe flicked a switch, but, in a way, Verk, protecting the ball is one thing, but it's just his mindset. Going into last night's game, you could tell that, in my mind, he was planning on showing, what he's got for the NBA on a big-time stage, on rivalry week, leading up to the Carolina-Duke game. He was probably hyped up, and he got away from the unselfish type of play in the games he's played good this year. Like Verk said, 1 assist. Syracuse isn't going to win when they get 1 assist from Michael Carter-Williams. They're not going to lose when they get 10.
Yeah, and how many shots do you take against St. John's? 4 or 5 shots, and and they look great. And St. John's is a good team, and Syracuse dismantled them. And St. John's has beat some good teams this year, and so it's kind of you kind of got thinking, hey, Sutherland's back, we look great, we're the best team in the country, and then they go and lose to Connecticut, and you wonder if they're a top 15 team in the country now, kind of.
Yeah, I think they'll put it together. One thing that I was really bothered by is that we didn't see Jeremy Grant the whole second half until the very end of the game when he decided to pull fair. He seems to be just what they need. He can score inside. You can give him the ball inside. He's 5-tool player. Their defense is so much better when he's on the court. You can't score at the rim when Jeremy Grant's on the court. He gets out on shooters better than Sutherland.
But who do you want him in for? Who do you want to see sit more?
That's what I was thinking, and this is what I'd like to see. Trevor Cooney logged some minutes last night. Let me see exactly how many he had. 9 minutes. Instead of having Cooney out there for those 9 minutes, I wouldn't mind seeing them put Sutherland up to the guard spot and have Grant on the back line. I think that is one of their best lineups. So you got Trish and Carter-Williams. Whenever one of them spell, Sutherland should come up. Grant plays down low. And that's a really, really tough defensive squad, I think, and offensive.
But Grant, how many minutes did Grant get last night? I don't have the minutes in my box
19
score.
Maybe.
19?
Memory,
20. They got 21.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty good minutes. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But he played almost the whole a lot of the first half.
I thought they waited too long to get Sutherland in last night. They were kind of struggling offensively early. I don't think Sutherland came in until about the 12-minute mark, which is, usually Boeheim's got that quick yank on somebody. But without Coleman to take out real quick, Grant ended up playing a little, not too much, but he got, a good run. And I agree. I would like to see him do something different because Trevor Cooney doesn't belong on the court right now.
No.
He's terrible.
Well, and if he has as much touches or shots as even Rakeem Christmas or the guys inside, that's an issue. Right. Number one. I think Grant led the team in rebounding last night with that little play time. I want to say 9 rebounds.
9 rebounds.
Right?
Yeah,
and
by
then
far.
Christmas had maybe 7.
Christmas had 6.
Yeah, okay. So, but I think those were the top 2 are right there. But, it's still, I just don't. He's energetic. He can jump out of the gym. He can play. You could put him even at 2, in all honesty. Not that you'd look for him to score, but, he does look. He's a slasher. He's a right-handed C.J. Fair that hasn't developed.
But with basketball
and size.
Yeah.
And those guys, you talk about playing a Grant at the 2 or Sutherland. Those guys handle the ball just as well as Trevor Cooney.
I agree.
And they bring so much more, though. To me, Cooney can't make a three-pointer. He's 0 for 3 last night. He had a couple wide-open looks. He came in, made a nice pump fake on his first play, took a dribble, knocked down the shot. Like, okay, Trevor. Then he bricks up 3 or 4 threes, and out he goes. And instead of having that, I agree, Jim. Maybe they should try something a little different and get, how big would they be when you got a Grant or a Sutherland up top?
Well, I think Grant's going a little too far. I think he could in a pinch, but that seems crazy. 6'10".
I go another way. We haven't seen him press in a while.
Yeah, until the end last night when they needed it. And it worked to some extent.
Right. And, you still have the bodies. So now you're opening the floor up, which we like to do, number one. And you have athletes.
Yep.
Cooney probably build a little confidence there. Rakeem Christmas is a great athlete. You got a lot of guys. Keita is just full of energy, too.
I think that's a great point. And Syracuse is better when it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're good playground pickup. Throw the ball out there. They're built for that. And I think Carter Williams is built for that, getting up and down. He throwing alley-oops. And when Syracuse doesn't score in transition, their half-court offense has never been great. Their sets and stuff like that. They usually, like we said earlier, they don't have a big guy to throw it into who can score. So, to pick up the tempo and make it a little bit up, crazier, and you might give up some baskets, but, at least you're forcing the pace, and I think that would be to Syracuse's advantage as well.
Well, they haven't broke, 60 to the last two losses,
sad,
right?
Yeah.
Right?
It's sad. And like I said, they lost 3 of their last 5. And we've been spoiled a bit with the success they've had. But,
last couple
absolutely.
Of years.
But
absolutely.
This is totally a little shocking. They lost those 2 games, then they come back against St. John's, and you kind of think. But when they lost this game to UConn, I looked at the schedule, and it was 3 of their last 5. That's really disconcerting, I think, to have a stretch like that, because Syracuse was a team that you might get them one night, but you're not going to get them the second night. They're just too good. But this team isn't as good as we thought they were. I think they can be. I think they can get better. I think a lot of it is just an attitude and approach. But one more thing on Jeremy Grant, and when you mentioned press, with him on the ball on the inbounds, the press is so great. I can't say enough about Jeremy Grant, especially in the game last night when it seems like Syracuse just thought they were going to go in and waltz over a team who's playing like it's the national championship. They need somebody to interject that energy and kind of wake them up. And at the very end of the game, Grant kind of did that during that press. He got that one standing dunk underneath the basket, and then Christmas misses that.
How about even going the other way? We talked about moving a Grant or Sutherland up top. What about moving a Grant into the center of the zone or something?
I was just thinking that on the backside of the press.
Gives you another scorer, and, he's 6'10".
Stay out of foul trouble. Yeah, it could.
Just another option.
Something's got to work.
I don't know defensively if he's gonna. UConn wasn't throwing the ball inside to anybody. I don't see how they would have been a big difference between having Grant in the middle or Keita or Christmas. Grant's a way better finisher than either one of those guys, and he brings a whole different dimension to the game.
And really, should Keita and Christmas have struggled against that front line of UConn? That's a Division II front line.
They were the second to last in rebounding, and we got out rebounded last night too.
And
that's the other thing. Syracuse is starting to get out rebounded a lot now.
Yep.
After the beginning of the year, for the first 15 games, they're doing great, and then lately they've been getting hammered up on the boards.
It did seem that Syracuse was frustrated last night. A lot of the possessions, the ball just wasn't going their way. It wasn't necessarily that they were in bad rebound. They'd almost make a steal, but the ball would get deflected to a UConn player who 2 passes later hits an open 3. Where that possession could have been a steal and a transition bucket. That just seemed like it just wasn't their night. And I hated watching Syracuse lose to UConn last time we were playing for a long time. I hated that. It's like when we played West Virginia in football in the Pinstripe Bowl. How great was that to say, see you later, West Virginia. Whenever we see you again, we've beaten you the last 3 times. So, personally, that loss hurt. I think the big picture, it hurts us a little bit when we look at a bid for number 1 seed, even if we finish strong. I think we can still play our way into it, especially with the Big East tournament. But when you're going to look at our resume, then you're going to see a road loss to Villanova and a road loss to UConn and a neutral court loss at Temple, all unranked teams. And then you put that against, a Michigan State who maybe, has a loss at Indiana or Michigan or Ohio State. Some of these others who their road losses.
They got a neutral site loss to Connecticut.
That's true in Germany back in November. But I just think resume-wise, you're going to look at our losses, and they're not impressive. We know that going down to Villanova and going to UConn, but on paper, against some of these other resumes, that's going to hurt us for whether we're talking about a 1 or a 2 seed. Right now, I think Syracuse is 3 seed low 3 seed.
Yeah. Well, I said earlier, there is 7 teams right now that have 3 or 4 losses. There's one, that are one loss out of first, I believe, and
in the league.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The leaders were 3 losses. So, in all honesty, we go in the Big East tournament as a 7 seed. Not to
our schedule's tough.
Yeah.
Coming out, we got Georgetown twice. We got at Marquette, I believe. Is it at Marquette?
It is at Marquette.
Yeah. And you would know, Red.
Yeah, that was my only bummer coming back is not being able to catch that game every year.
And we got Louisville again.
Haven't played DePaul yet, have we?
No, we got them in the Dome, which that's a loss that can devastate your resume, and it could happen. DePaul almost beat Notre Dame the other night, went into overtime.
We got Georgetown twice, Marquette, and Louisville again. There's obviously 4 tough games. You're hoping you're going to beat Providence, Seton Hall, and DePaul. So
So that would put it 23-7, 8.
Yeah, that's definitely not a 3 seed.
Right. Yeah. But the
whole country's kind of
exactly
up and down.
That's right.
But when you put our resume against the other ones right now, our losses make it. Our wins are fine. I think you got to get credit for beating San Diego State in San Diego. I don't care about whether it was an aircraft carrier or not. But I think our losses are hurting us when you look at the resume. But certainly, this is where you play your way into it. They talk about the last 10. We've got, counting the Big East tournament, our last 10 could be pretty good. We have, starting with Seton Hall and Providence this week, we have 2, 4, 6, 7, potentially 10 games left, counting the Big East. So our last 10 could be 10-0, could be 5-5.
It'd be interesting on what the team thought was when they see C.J. Fair get put on the bench the last few minutes.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a wake-up call for them and say, hey, listen, we're putting our best player on the bench. Figure it out.
Yeah, you guys, he was obviously not happy. And then I also wonder what they think when they watch their coach's press conference and they bash Andy Katz. Well,
one other thing I took away from this game was, Kevin Ollie, what a great job he's done. I think he's got to be in the top 2 or 3 coaches for National Coach of the Year.
Sure,
they lost guys transferring, they got guys hurt, and
they got nothing to play for.
Oriaki went to Missouri, and they're 1 game out of first place in the Big East, and it was a team who really could have went a whole different direction. And they had Oriaki transfer out, they had a couple other guys leave, and Drummond went pro. They had a pretty big turnover. They kept the 2 guards, and that was about it. Boatwright and Napier. And
Omar Calhoun's come out.
These kids, if you notice, during the interview with Calhoun, the whole team came over and they had their arms around each other. They seemed like a really close knit team, and it's a team that I'd like to see eligible for the postseason, actually, just because the way they've been playing.
I'm fine with them not being but like I said, Brad's not here. He usually brings a great Syracuse Big East trivia. But I got some trivia. I think Eric's got some trivia. So we're going to take a quick break here from our sponsors, but stay tuned.
Attention Finger Lakes residents. Have you been injured and deserve compensation? Call Madej, Maris, and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys. Your case deserves personal attention. At Madej, Maris, and Ricky, they know you by name, not just a number on a folder. Call the Finger Lakes Personal Injury Hotline at 315-568-0911. That's 315-568-0911. Madej, Maris, and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys.
The Newark Pilots. See tomorrow's Major League stars today. For more information, go to newarkpilots.com.
The most valuable things are always passed down from generation to generation. It's true for your family, and it's true for our bank. For more than 140 years at Generations Bank, we've greeted you by name, planned with you for the future, and stood by you when you needed a hand. It's what we do, and what we'll continue to do for generations into the future. We might look different now, but in the important ways, we're exactly like we've always been. Stop in your local branch or go to mygenbank.com.
And welcome back to the Upstate Orange Podcast. Thanks to our sponsors, Madej, Maris, and Ricky, Newark Pilots Baseball, and Generations Bank. Well, like I said, trivia time. Usually it's Brad. And the nice thing I think for Brad is he'll be able to listen to this episode after he gets back from his ski trip. And he'll be able to answer these trivia questions himself so he'll actually be on the other side of things. But let me get off right now with my trivia question for you guys tonight. And our producer, Hunt Dog, can chime in. I think he's got an open mic over there. In the course of Boeheim's coaching career, spanning 30 years, there's been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's been 9 individuals who have led the team in scoring twice, 2 separate years. You following me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, Carmelo Anthony's not one of these players because he only led this team in scoring 1 year, his freshman year, and then he was gone. So there's been 9 individuals who have done this. One of them's done it 3 times. Only one person has led the Orange in scoring 3 separate years, and only one of these players has not done it in back-to-back years. In other words, they did it 1 year, someone else did it, then they did it again. So good luck with this one, guys, because there's some of the guys' names that you think would be on this list aren't. So I would prefer if you guys worked your way either forward or backward. It's up to you.
Can't go sideways?
No, we can't start in the middle. Either start early or start late and work your way back.
Well, the obvious one's Moten.
Moten's a 3.
And I think today's the anniversary that he broke the all-time scoring record from Coleman. February 14th, if I remember correctly.
Day you'll never forget, huh?
Not really. I was not a Lawrence Moten fan, so.
But he did 92, 93, 93, 94, and 94, 95. Lawrence Moten, he averaged 17.9, 21.5, and 19.6 those 3 years. So that's the only guy in Syracuse history to do it 3 years. So there's one. We got 8 more to go.
So I haven't heard that. That takes John Wallace out of the equation because Moten.
That's right. Yeah. That's why I would have. One of my first guesses would have been Wallace, but he only did it 1 year, the 95-96 season, where he averaged 22.2.
Well, how about Coleman then? I mean, since he was number 2.
Coleman is not an answer.
Not Dewan. I meant Derek.
No, neither Coleman.
How about Billy Owens?
Billy Owens is one. That's number 2. He did it in 89-90, 90-91, so he stole one of Coleman's years.
Okay, I'm going to go old school. How about Eric Sandifer?
Good call. That's one of the ones I thought you might struggle with because not a lot of guys remember him as a scorer. 81-82 and 82-83. He averaged 17 and 17.8 to lead the Orange.
My old age is paying off on that one. Fair to you guys?
How about Demetrius Nichols?
Nope. Nichols was a 1 year man, 2006-07 season, averaged 18.9. And then he was, the next year, it was Dante Green, who we all know was only 1 year. Yeah.
How about Devendorf?
Nope. Devendorf never led the Orange in scoring. Never led the Orange in scoring.
How about Sherm Douglas?
There you go. And he's the only guy to do it in 2 of 3 years. In other words, Ronnie Cycli was in between them. So Sherm led the team in scoring in 86-87 in his sophomore campaign with 17 points, 3 assists. Then Cycli the next year led at 16.3 points. And then Douglas did it again in 88-89 with 18.2. So we got Owens, Douglas, Moten, and Sandifer.
How about Leo Routens?
5 more to go. Nope, Leo Routens never led the Orange in scoring, believe it or not.
Dave Bing?
We're only doing Boeheim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Only doing Boeheim. But Bing is always the correct answer for any Syracuse trivia question.
Oh, God. Let's see. What years are we missing here? How about Preston Shumpert?
Good call. 2000, 2001, 2001, 2002, averaged 19.5 and 20.7. So that's 5. And of the remaining players that you have left, 2 of these players came after Preston Shumpert, and 2 of these players came before Sherman Douglas.
How about Jerry McNamara?
Nope, GMAC only led him 1 year, 2005 and 6.
Akeem Warwick?
That's a good bingo right there. Akeem Warwick, 2003, 2004, 2004, 2005. 19.8 and 21.4 respectively. Wow. 2 more to go.
So we got one
recent in the 2000s and then 1 going back prior to Sherman Douglas.
So we got to go way back.
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys
70s.
Got 2 more. We need 3 more. 1's current and 2 of them are before Sherman
How about
Douglas.
Roosevelt Bowie?
Good call. Roosevelt Bowie, 78, 79, and 79, 80. 15.2 and 16.1 points per game. So 2 left. And one of them came between Santa Fe and Douglas.
When did Sparrow graduate? All right, sorry.
Santa Fe and Douglas.
Oh, man. How about, Raph Addison.
There you go. I was just going to say, there's one you guys got to get. Raphael Addison. Probably one of the most unheralded superstars in Syracuse history. You know, a stud player on the team that upset Georgetown in the Dome when Georgetown was number one and seemed unbeatable. Raph averaged 17.7 and 18.4 over that 2-season stretch, and then in between Addison and Sherm Douglas was Pearl Washington, who only led for 1 year, 17.3 points that year in 85-86. Lost to David Robinson's Navy squad in a heartbreaker. Broke my heart.
So we need one more guy, huh? And we're talking 2000s here.
Yeah, this one's recent.
Johnny Flynn?
Nope.
Because Dante led it when he was a freshman, which was Flynn's freshman year.
Yep.
So recently we got...
You got to... Come on, turn on your mic. Dog's got a guess.
I'm going to guess Dave Johnson.
Wrong.
He's too early.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Dave Johnson did lead him in scoring in 91-92, 19.8 points per game.
Wow.
Went on to play for the Portland Trailblazers for half a season.
Wow.
This guy...
See, I was in Wisconsin in this time, so that's
Well,
why I knew Raph Addison easily.
I'm not going to have so much dead air. I'm going to tell you guys that you really should come up with this one. He played on last year's team. He played on last year's team. He was the leading scorer on the team last year and the year before.
Chris Joseph?
There you go. KJ.
Really?
Listen to this, though. 14.3 and 13.4 points per game.
That's why I didn't think of him.
Yep.
In all the history of Syracuse basketball, the only other players to average less than him and lead the team were Jason Hart and Eton Thomas, 13.9 and 13.6.
Good balance. That's what that means, apparently.
Yeah, I guess.
Something like that,
I guess. It's kind of surprising, for such a great team last year. But I think it perhaps was balanced.
When you say Dave Johnson averaged 19 points, that's just so surprising.
Yeah.
Or I don't remember Akeem Wark averaging 22 points a game. I mean, that's huge. That would be top 10 in the nation this year.
Well, he in Works, a guy who went on to have a decent run in the NBA.
Sure, he's still playing.
And obviously that freshman year with Carmelo. After that, it was Work was the star.
And then McNamara towards the end of that after Work.
Yeah, well, even with those two worked well together.
Sure,
obviously. So yeah, heck Work. No joke there. How about you,
let's see,
Eric? You got something for us?
I got a little Big East tournament trivia as well as I won't give that answer away. So when Syracuse won in 2003, obviously they had a loss leading into the NCAA. Do you know who that last loss was?
When they lost in 2003.
When they won the national championship in 2003.
They lost in the Big East tournament.
Correct.
To UConn.
There you go.
Yeah, I remember all the UConn losses and wins.
Let's go another one. The first Big East tournament.
Ever?
1980.
Okay.
You remember that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I was in third grade. Syracuse won the Big East tournament that year.
In the semifinal, they beat UConn.
Yep.
Where was the game?
The Carrier Dome.
Incorrect.
That wasn't the year that Routins won with the tip-in triple overtime?
Manly Fieldhouse.
No, not the final, but when they played UConn in the semi.
Oh, the whole tournament wasn't at the Dome? I have no idea.
Providence Civic Center.
Really? So wait, was the whole tournament was there then?
It probably was.
Yeah, and then the next year, maybe it was 81 when Leo Routins tipped it in triple over to beat Villanova. But that year, Syracuse won the Big East tournament and didn't go to the NCAA tournament. They went to the NITs and ended up losing to Tulsa
in double or triple overtime
in the final.
Like
I don't remember.
Matt, you don't remember that?
I don't remember if it was double or triple overtime.
Matt was practicing. That's why he played D1.
I was 7 when in 1981.
Yeah.
So
okay, Matt. Whatever. All right. Let's see. How about one? I had one more decent one. I was going to throw some Seton Hall trivia, but I can't remember the last two. All right, what are the 3 UConn coaches that Boeheim has coached against in his career?
Jesus.
George Blaney.
Nope.
Didn't he?
Well,
is an
okay.
interim? You're not
Yeah,
counting that. You're talking head.
Right. Who was head coach?
Well, you got Kevin Ollie.
Not counting
night.
this. Not counting this year.
Okay.
I have no idea who
I'm
was
on the
coach at
fly.
UConn before.
Calhoun.
I can remember Earl Kelly was a great player for him. Remember Earl
Do
Kelly?
you remember Dom Perno?
Yes, good call.
Yeah,
Yeah, that does ring a bell now
Yeah,
you
and then
mentioned
there
it.
was another guy, Don Rowe, but I remember
I
Perno.
don't remember Rowe.
That was when UConn was a sure win back
Yeah,
then.
a lot of people don't remember. UConn in the beginning of the Big East was terrible.
Yeah.
They had baby blue uniforms, more akin to like maybe North Carolina, but they were terrible. I once saw a game in the Dome where Earl Kelly and an Earl Kelly Connecticut team took Syracuse to double or maybe even triple overtime, and it was a shock because that was a game we should have won. And really, UConn didn't step into the forefront nationally until they remember that
They had Tate George or George.
Yeah, that's the year
against Clemson in '90.
He's the one who made the shot.
Yeah.
Yep, that was kind of when Connecticut kind of broke through.
Eldon Campo was on Clemson.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I got one more quick one.
Okay.
Has Syracuse ever played UConn in the NCAA tournament?
Ever.
In Boeheim's era.
In Boeheim's era, I'm going to say no. But obviously, since you're asking that question, the answer is yes.
All right. 1978-79 season. SU 89, UConn 81.
Pre-Big East.
And that was also Perno was the coach then. So he was kind of, no wonder why he got fired. Boeheim was trouncing him all the time.
Well, there you go. In honor of our Brad Connor, our third wheel
good
here.
Good trivia there.
We had some good trivia tonight. Moving on quickly, guys. You mentioned earlier the Big East standings. I'm looking at them right now. You got Syracuse, Georgetown, Marquette with 3 losses, tied for first. And then you got Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, Louisville, and Connecticut, 1 game back. And then you got Cincinnati with 5 losses and St. John's with 5 losses. So, that's 9. That's 9 teams, 2 games back of first as we head towards the stretch run.
It will be interesting to see how many teams go to the tournament. It really will be.
Of all those teams I mentioned, they fared well out of conference except for St. John's. St. John's had 4 out-of-conference losses.
I think right now we're at 8. Take those 9 teams that you just mentioned, and St. John's is really on the bubble just because they had some, they're 15-9.
Yeah. That's
not a tournament resume.
They got to get through the end of the season with 12 losses at the most to be even considered.
It's going to be, they're 7-5 of the Big East. They finished 3-4 games above 500 in the Big East. That's obviously going to hold a lot of weight. We'll see how it plays out.
You got Cincinnati with 6 losses overall, so they've lost 1 out of conference. UConn lost 2 out of conference games. Louisville lost 1 out of conference game. Notre Dame won, Pittsburgh won. Marquette lost 3 out of conference games. Other than that, you got Georgetown, Syracuse each dropping 1 OC.
The other thing is, Big East might not have a 1 or 2 seed. If it's not Syracuse, Syracuse, they're looking at a bunch of 4 and 5s really out of the top of the Big East, and which is unusual because we had, we're multiple number 1 seeds and 2 seeds the last couple of years.
Syracuse and Louisville are the only, I think, real contenders for that. And Louisville's got 5 losses. Syracuse has 4. I don't think Georgetown, Marquette, or Pittsburgh, or Notre Dame for that matter, have any shot at a number 1 seed. Unless they go undefeated the rest of the way. But I think Syracuse, Louisville.
Georgetown's 18-4 if they get on a roll here, which would mean
they play
couple
Syracuse
wins over Syracuse
twice. Anything's possible.
Yeah, it just makes that game next
Saturday,
2 Saturdays
the 23rd
at the Dome should be fantastic.
Well, I'm trying to get my top 5 power rankings in the country together, and it's so hard to do because there's 15 teams that you could put in there. I mean, and really trying to pick like a top 1, 2, or 3, it's kind of a joke. My top 5 is Duke 5. Look, I don't care what happened. They should have lost to Boston College. And when you almost lose to Boston College, I'm going to drop you in my power rankings. It's a bit of an enigma this year because the Duke's, 2 losses still? Only 2 losses? I just don't see it.
Probably the best resume in the country if you look at their
early
wins.
on. I just don't see it. I'm putting them at 5. Screw them. I got Syracuse at 4. I really think last night was a bit of an enigma. We talked about a lot of problems they're having, but you know what's going to happen? They're going to come out. They're going to beat Seton Hall. They're going to beat Providence, and that's going to lead them right into the Georgetown game. And that's a 4 o'clock game at CBS. And then we're really going to see what they're made of. You know, they got Georgetown at Marquette, and then Louisville at the Dome. So I think they're going to right the ship over the next 2 games and come out and finally put it together against that top competition. So I got Syracuse 4. I got Gonzaga at 3. There's probably not a better team if you look at their body of work in the country than Gonzaga. And they got a legitimate claim at a number 1 seed, obviously, if I got them 3 in my power rankings. I got Miami 2, undefeated in the ACC, and all their terrible losses were a long time ago. They're playing great, and until somebody beats them, I considered putting them at 1. But I got Indiana at 1, which they were number 1 in my first power rankings of the year, and I guess it's come full circle. But everybody's beating everybody, and it's kind of a joke to say that these 5 teams are better than the 5 teams that come behind them. So, I don't know. How about you guys? You got a top 5 for us?
I do.
Eric?
I do. Actually, I have Miami just on the outside, even though they're having a great year. Actually, I have Michigan State 5.
Yeah, that's a good call.
They've been kind of sneaking up. I got Michigan 4. I still go back to their guard play when you get in the NCAA tournament should take over. Gonzaga 3. I have a tough time putting that Duke 2, but I have to just because, like Matt said, you still got to look at the record.
Yeah.
They are winning. I think the ACC is about as weak as it ever has been. And number 1, Indiana. I think the Big Ten is just stacked. I mean, you got Illinois, who is 7th or 8th in the conference, and I think they're like 4 or 5 and 7 in conference, and they're still 18-8, and have had good out of conference wins for the most part. But I just like Indiana's balance, both inside and that was it Oladipo.
Yeah, tough name to say, but he is unbelievable.
Unreal.
I got I agree with Eric on. I got Michigan State number 5. They kind of been flying under the radar behind Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan in the Big Ten. But look at the standings; they're 10-2, tied with Indiana at the top of the Big Ten. And they're a team that they're just doing what they always do. They're rebounding the ball and they're beating you up on defense. And they really took it to Michigan the other night. And I was really impressed with that win. They got Gonzaga at number 4. They've just been on a roll, and they're probably going to, they're going to finish the season. They probably won't lose another game.
Nope.
So they're a team. They're pretty much. If I had to pick anybody who was a lock for a number 1 seed right now, I'd go with Gonzaga, just because the way their schedule is going to play out.
All it'll take though is 1 loss, and that's what happens when you're a team like Gonzaga.
Yep.
Or Butler, who has lost recently.
Yeah.
You do slip up, you're going to pay for it. You're going to drop like 7 slots.
I got Duke number 3. They're still playing without Kelly. They should have lost to Boston College, which would have been monumental. And I was really pulling for BC there. I was watching that game. I couldn't believe how they blew it. But Duke won, so you can't hold it against them. And they got some great wins this year. They beat Louisville. They beat Ohio State. They've struggled on true road games a little bit. Obviously, going to BC there. But they've been doing it. I got Miami number 2, who just totally destroyed. They're probably the one team in the country you don't want to play right now. The way they've been playing, I've been paying attention to them, and they're great. They got big guys. They got their 4-man can shoot the ball. They got Reggie Johnson inside. They're very well coached. Been very impressed with them, and I'm still sticking with Indiana number 1. They've kind of been on 1, 2, and 3 all year, and I think they're the most talented team in the country. We'll see how they defend. I think is a big thing with them. Offensively, they're unreal, but that's my top 5.
I think with Indiana too, if you slow it down, that's where you can beat them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, keep that in mind if we run up against
That's
Indiana.
it, baby.
Week ahead for the Orange. Saturday night. Thankfully, a little lull in the schedule before it really gets tough. Saturday night, 8 o'clock at Seton Hall. Seton Hall's terrible. They actually had a good out-of-conference this year, and they are on a 6-game losing streak. They're 2-10 in the league. So I can remember we were in December talking about Seton Hall as being one of the Big East teams in, but they're way out now, and I don't foresee too much issue there. And it's funny, Seton Hall's been a rival of Syracuse's over the years, but that's a team I guess I'm not going to miss too much when we go to the ACC. In some regards I will, but like this UConn game, the St. John's game, I'm not really feeling that way about Seton Hall. I'm not really excited about it as being the last time we're going to face Seton Hall. And I think that's just a commentary on where Seton Hall's program's been the last 10 years. It's not like it was back in the late 80s and early 90s when Seton Hall was actually pretty formidable. So we beat them like 30 times in a row.
I remember that streak, and then I think Seton Hall won 2 in a row, and everybody was going nuts about it.
So that's 8 o'clock Saturday, and then next Wednesday, February 20th, that's my birthday. They got Providence in the Dome, and I think I'll be at that game. So for whatever that's worth.
Hopefully they deliver a win for you.
Yeah, Providence is 5-7 in the league, and we've talked about them before on the podcast. They got great talent, guys like Cotton and Council, and it's kind of confusing why they struggle so much. You just think, look at the roster, you think they're a little better team than the record shows, but again, they're down there with Seton Hall, the bottom of the league. At 5-7, 13-11 overall. So I predict, obviously, 2 wins. I don't know if you guys got an upset special in there. Or you got 2 wins for the Orange?
I got 2 wins.
I hope.
Kind of right the ship.
Because after that, I think the matchups get pretty tough.
Yeah, they do. So let's hope we don't drop one of these next 2 before we're back here next Thursday night. Should also let everybody know that some point in the next few weeks, we're going to be transitioned to Sunday night. Actually, we'll probably do that the week of the Big East tournament. We might do a Thursday, Sunday that week just to transition us over. And that Sunday night of after the Big East tournament, we'll be on the air 9 o'clock the night that the brackets come out. So our Selection Sunday special give you some instant reaction to where Syracuse ends up. Right now, they're playing for a number 1 seed, but they got to start winning because, like we said, they're probably a 3 or 4 seed. So. Eric, thanks a lot for coming in. Anybody heading out to the Turning Stone to play some golf? I don't even know if they allow him in the casino. So you're going to have to go to the golf course if you're going to want to see him. But if you do, tell me something on the Upstate Orange podcast.
There you go. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks again for the awesome
definitely.
Awesome
no problem.
Hats.
Love the hats.
I'll be wearing this future SU.
Make sure you don't break the rim in too much.
Is that a St. John's hat?
It's Syracuse blue right there.
Yeah, we don't want the rim too bent. There were some comments on our post at Noon's Magician about maybe the rims being too bent. And I see, Verk, that you're not wearing a J.C. Penney shirt tonight. You're wearing one from your alma mater.
That's right. William Mary. They had a big win last night. They scored like 92 points. So
I don't know if our listeners know, but this guy is the leading 3-point shooter in William & Mary history.
Second now.
Second, somebody beat you?
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Oh, well, that second's nothing.
No.
You were something when you were 1. But.
That's right.
So thanks again for joining us on the Upstate Orange podcast. And please remember to subscribe to our feed on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or via RSS. You can find us on Facebook by searching Upstate Hoops and on Twitter at HoopsPod. One last thing. If Jim Boeheim's not talking to Andy Katz, neither am I. For my co-host, Matt Berkey, and our special guest, Eric Lorenzetti, our producer, Jeremy Hunt, I'm Jim Sinacropi. We'll see you back here next week.